Hi, welcome back to It Happened Twice, a podcast about my wild and crazy and zany life, where if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen to me, and possibly it's going to happen more than once. Today, I'd love to tell you a few stories about the joys of potty training, which I actually think went fairly well. I don't have a lot to compare it to, but there weren't months of crises or major accidents. I went the new school, or I don't know, maybe it's an old school method of just go big or go home. So we went straight to panties and we spent the summer outside in dresses and panties, and we would go potty every 15 minutes. And she learned that if she went in her panties, it wasn't going to work like a diaper. And she very quickly caught on. Um, Obviously, we couldn't be outside all morning and all night, and we switched to pull-ups, which we called night panties, which I thought was clever. But I mean, accident-wise, I thought we were pretty good. And so, 3 or 4 days later, she was pretty potty trained, had the bladder the size of a walnut, but that's not really her fault. The adventures started after potty training. I think I'm going to blame my husband on this one. He came home from trucking. He's a part-time truck driver. A few days after I had, successfully potty trained our little chickpea. And he wanted to take her to the park. And I said, you know what? Sure, I've had her for 4 days all to myself. You go have a fun time at the park. So we put her in her wagon and gave her a couple juice boxes to deal with the heat, and they went to the park. Of course, the park that is nearest to our house doesn't have a bathroom there. So by the time they got there, and she was a few juice boxes in, she climbed up on the playground, went down the slide, and said, "Daddy, I have to go potty." So she learned to squat almost simultaneously with learning how to potty train, which actually has turned out to be quite a handy thing, because every once in a while she'll say she has to go potty and she has that look in her eye that says, and there is a time limit to this. We've got within a minute to find a potty or else. She used to be scared of those self-flushing toilets in public bathrooms, and would rather wet herself than go on one of those when it goes off in surprise. But my friend taught me a little trick that if you cover the sensor with toilet paper, then it won't go off without until you take the toilet paper off that little sensor. And so we would make all our potties safe. Well, connecting to those wonderful tidbits of information is this story, where my little chickpea really wanted to go jump in puddles. There's something about toddlers that rain boots and puddles and raincoats and umbrellas are just fascinating. The problem was it hadn't rained in a long time, and it was summer. It's hot out. Any dew or rain that there had been was all dried up. But I put her in her rain boots, and we put on our raincoat, and we went searching for some puddles. We got pretty determined. She got pretty determined. I was determined to play along, and we went everywhere. We never found any puddles. So we were on our way back to the house, but we kind of got far with our exploring. So she goes, "Mommy, I have to go potty." I said, "Okay, well, let's just go back to the house." She's like, "Mommy, I'm not going to make it." And I was like, "You know what? We'll just squat. We do it all the time. It's the fact of life. This is young potty trained children with the bladder of a walnut. We'll just go potty." She goes, "Okay." So we just moved off to a corner of the sidewalk. Actually, I think we were in an alley where the terrain isn't quite even, but we pulled down her pants and her panties. She squatted. She stood up. I was just standing up. It takes me a little bit longer to stand up than it does her. And was just kind of looking around, and she looked at me and said, "Mommy, look, a puddle." And I felt this splashing on my shins of my leg. And I was like, "What puddle?" And I looked down, and she's jumping in her rain boots, in her puddle of pee, and having a great time with it. And I looked at her and I thought, wow, this isn't in any of those motherhood books. And needless to say, we went home and both Mommy and Chickpea went and had a bath. But it's nice to know that she can find the positive in anything and she can find a puddle wherever she needs it or make her own. Be interesting to see or hear if any of you and your little chickpeas have done anything like this. I'm sure us mothers and fathers all have some sort of potty training or bathroom story to share. So if you ever want to send me a line, you go ahead. I'm going to sign off for today, but you can find me and my books online at amazon.com or amazon.ca. Just look for Jenna Green, Green with the E on the end. You can find me on Twitter at jgreenwrites. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook. Just look for Jenna Green with the E on the end of green. Hope you guys all have a good night. Bye.